well as Thursday Wrestling, and you know what that means. So today we got NXT UK and Impact, but I'm also going to start out by throwing one of the recent events, or should I say, that took place this past February by Japanese promotion Just Tap Out, and also throw in some news updates for all of you. So get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host Jay right here. So let's begin with Just Tap Out with one of their events they did back in February 18th of this year in Shinjuku Face, which is one of their infamous venues that many of the smaller promotions have done their events. So first match we have is a women's tag team match. We got Sumika Yanagawa and Yuri taking on Misa Kagura and Tomoka Inaba. Now, I'm not familiarized with some of these girls except for Yuri. I've seen her maybe once or twice with Just Tap Out. Um, I didn't know what to expect a whole lot, but I did like how Tomoka actually put um what's her name um Sumaka in a submission to call to in a very interesting leg lock, which is very impressive. So in this particular case, it was Kagura and Hinaba that won their match. Next one is a men's tag team match. We have Ren Ayanabe and Keno taking on X Valiant and Shinjon um, Usha Valiant. Now, like I said, there's a lot of good spots on this one. Basically, a little bit of the lucha libre style in this match, but it was excuse me, but it was a fun match. However, like I wasn't too much hype with it, but it was fun. But I kind of expected that the Valiants, as I call them, were gonna win because they're an interesting group. They're like a bunch of superheroes when I look at them, and of course, they won this match completely. Now, this next match, it was for the UWA World Light Heavyweight title. We have the challenger, Eagle Mask, taking on the champion, Black Chango. This was a bit of a more aggressive match by Black Chango because he is determined to retain his title at any cost, but he actually did. Now, Eagle Mask did every possible way to win the match, but it did not work. Whatever high flying maneuvers, Chango counter it, but as soon as the match was over, Black Chango actually retained it, but he continues to pound on Eagle Mask to prove a point. Now I don't know what he said in this post match promo, but possibly he's calling him a loser or who will be the next challenger to face him. The next match is a Queen of GTO match. We have Rhythm taking on Aki Shizuki. Now, I've seen Rhythm before. She's a very interesting wrestler I have seen before in a previous GTO match. Or should I say GTO event, but it was very interesting. But however, I've seen Aki. She's more like the experienced and knew exactly what to do, like what to put Rhythm on the ground, doing a little bit of the groundwork, but however, Rhythm tries to pull away as much as possible, but it was no good. Aki uh, Shizuki won the match by a pinfall. Next match is another championship match. This one is for the Independent World Junior Heavyweight title with Shin Suzuki and Arata, who's the current champion. Awesome match. I have to say, there was a whole lot I did not expect because I have seen Arata before. He won this title from uh, Shota down in DDT, but it was a really fun match to watch. I enjoyed it a whole lot. So, can't wait to see what they're going to do more with it. And now the final match is the King of GTO. This time is Ryuya Takekura taking on, of course, the man, the founder of Just Tap Out, Taka Michinoku. But this one was also a very hard hitting match. Now, you probably ask yourself, if this guy is the founder, why is he involved? It's his promotion. He can do whatever he wants. Many of his wrestlers actually were training with him. He's one of the one of the smaller number of promotions that have intergenders. But it was a lot of fun to watch. But I did not expect a whole lot. This match went up to 17 minutes. I'm like blown away with it. And Taka actually won the match, but I don't know what he said in the post match promo. But it was a good event. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, Hopefully, I can review more of these promotions. If you guys haven't seen, just tap out, look it up on Google, or you find some videos on YouTube. So I think that's it right now. So let's move on with NXT UK. Okay, so we're in NXT UK. The opening match was already been set a week ago with Dave Mastiff taking on Ilja Dragunov. Now, as you know, Dragunov is still dealing with his demons, with the fact that since he lost to Walter last year, this match was a far more brutal match. But however, this match ended when, of course, Dave Mastiff actually was bleeding out so much. Referee called the decision. Now, Dragunov didn't do anything after that when he realized what happened. Even after the post match, he actually got interviewed. He knew there'll be consequences and there will be time. He said that it's time for change. I think Dragunov really wants to do this. Hopefully, it's because previously he wanted to change his methods, but Sam Gradwell got into his head. But he got rid of him. But this time, we'll follow up of what's going to happen with Dragunov. Now, Gallus has now getting back on their game, but however, only two members were there, Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. They were playing a little soccer until Rampage was coming out looking for Joe Coffey. He wants to have a match against him, even though he beat him once before. So, he chose Wolfgang instead. I don't know what's the beef between both Rampage and Joe, but it's going to be a very interesting match to have part two between Brown and Coffey. Now, once again, the shenanigans of Supernova Sessions. Shaw Samuels and Noam Dar had their special guest Nathan Frazier. Shaw Samuels, who thinks that he is the true fighter of the British style of wrestling, because as you know, Ben Carter, he's originally from Jersey, but he was raised in the UK. But he never got into the style. But he criticizes him that he's not a real British wrestler, but he has been training at the performance center. So he got back and forth argument, believing that Brandon Fraser was given the opportunity, even though he's not British. Because as you know, Nathan Fraser, before he came to the WWE, going to the NXT UK, he was actually wrestling in American promotions. He feel that he has betrayed his heritage, that he should not have been there in the beginning. But however, it was WWE who signed him, and that's what they wanted. And of course, we're gonna have that match with Noam Dar and Frazier soon enough. Next match, we got Trent Seven versus Saxon Huxley. Another interesting match. It was a very power hitting match, but however, once again, Sam Gradwell shows up out of the blue. So basically, he's trying to get to his head saying that he's a founder too, but he was gone for a pretty long time due to injury. But however, his little interference to get into Trent Seven's head did not work out, but it did allow for Trent Seven to win the match. Now, as you know, Sid Scalia put out a number one contenders match with 5 women. We have Ginny, Aladon, Zaya Brookside, Danny Luna, and Amelia McKenzie. All these 5 women are determined to prove who will be the number one contender, the face. Now we have seen Ginny. She lost against Kaylee Ray. Aladon, she believes she's capable. But however, because of what happened during the commercial break after the match between Trent Seven and Saxon Huxley, Zaya Brookside was attacked by Amelia, who felt that she was being overlooked. This time it was unclear whether she'll be okay by next week. Now, if I'm Sid Scally, I would find a replacement, but I wouldn't reward Amelia for that because she attacked her to send a statement. Now, who would I think should be in that number one contendership? Well, there's only, I can say, maybe 2 options. I can think of Piper Nivens or Aoife Valkyrie. Possibly, possibly, yeah, I would say one of those two. But if I'm a betting man, I would put Aoife Valkyrie in that card. So that's what I think is gonna happen. But now let's get to the main event, which was the loser must leave NXT UK. Former tag team partners and best friends turn enemies. Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. Man, this match was like a brutal way to this to end. You wouldn't expect a whole lot because you'd probably be at the edge of your seat. But man, that was a great match. I enjoyed it. But however, the one who had to leave is Amir Jordan. Now, I don't know if this is part of the storyline or he's going to take some time off, but we'll see because it's not the first time. We've seen something like this with Johnny Gargano where he had to leave, but he did came back later. He came back later, but now we'll wait. Maybe I'll give it a year or so where Amir Jordan comes back. Kenny Williams will not like that, and I'm assuming that Amir Jordan will be better than ever, train better, a much better wrestler when he comes back. So let's move on with Impact Wrestling. All right, so Impact Wrestling are building up to their latest pay per view, Under Siege. As you know, we already have 3 qualifiers in the number one contendership in a 6-man brawl. We have Sammy, Matt Cardona, and Chris Bay. This particular night, it became the final 3 who will join the others. So let's go from start to finish. The first qualifier match, we have Chris Sabin along with James Storm taking on a Violent by Design member, Rhino. I did not expect because a whole lot because here's the thing. Chris Sabin is a former world champion, but Rhino I would have expected because Violent by Design would do whatever it takes to ensure they win. But this time it did not. It did allow for Chris Sabin to win his match. He's now in the qualifier match. I'm excited for that because it's really interesting. Now, the Elite has now been expanded. As you know, recently we've seen that now the Good Brothers are now with the members. So basically, you only see 3 of them right now. So Kenny had an idea about being coached to the Good Brothers. They need to get their mojo back and regain the Impact World Tag Team titles, which is currently being held by Finn Juice from New Japan. But Doc Gallows will set the face in the match against one member against Finn Juice, and that is Juice Robinson. But we'll get to that in a bit. Now, the next match we have Susan along with Kimberly taking on Taylor Wilde. Once again, as you know, Kimberly lost a week ago against Taylor Wilde, but this time you saw that Taylor Wilde had everything under control, but Kimberly showed up. But out of nowhere, here comes Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with the K to give a helping hand. However, Taylor Wilde does not trust her. Now, keep in mind, Tennille Dashwood has been terrible with partners. She walked away in many of their matches. We had Alicia Edwards. We have what's her name? Jordan Grace. We had, of course, Madison Rain. I don't think Taylor is that stupid to fall for her saying, "Oh, we want to be BFFs," but no. But however, their helping hand did give Taylor Wilde the victory. But I don't think Taylor Wilde has any desire to join up with them, because the thing is this: Tennille Dashwood, it's always about her. That's the gimmick. But we'll see what happens then. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, as you know, basically she believes that she's ducking Taylor Wilde because it's possible that she may go after the her Impact her Knockouts title. But however, Rosemary had other things to say. Basically, she's gunning for the title, but it turns out she's not the only one. We have Havoc as well. And she said she's going to talk to them more about this, about maybe having a match with either one or two. Now, the next match is another qualifier. We have Rohit Raju along with Shera taking on Trey Miguel. I have to say, what an amazing match in Trey Miguel. I did not expect a whole lot, because I would assume because Shera was there to help, but no, not this time. Trey Miguel put him in that submission move. I forgot what he calls it. It's similar as the triangle move, where you have the arm around the legs of somebody just to keep them there. But it's kind of similar. But Trey Miguel put up a great victory. But however, someone wanted payback against Rohit Raju, and that person was Jake Something. Jake Something hasn't forgotten what happened last week, costing him the match when he faced Chris Bay. Now, back in the Swingers Palace once again. This time, Alicia lost a lot of money. Swinger wants to kick her out, but however, once again, the qualifiers are continue to getting each other's nerves to find out who will be the one to have a chance. I mean, it could be anybody. If I was a betting man, the only person I would say it would be Moose, and I'll explain to you guys at the end of this why I would say. Now, the next match, we have Doc Gallows along with Kenny, Carl, and Don taking on Juice Robinson. This match was a very interesting. Now you see Kenny playing the coach, but of course there is that how to say, the possibility of interference. But this time it wasn't like that. Doc Gallows won, but however they decided to continue to beat down on Juice. And Eddie Edwards, who is teaming with Vin Juice at Under Siege, came to the rescue. But they were still getting pounded. So we will see what happens when we get to Under Siege. Now, Deonna Purrazzo was leaving. Basically, she did not want to deal with this whole thing with the who will be challenger. But somehow Scott D'Amore found her and told her that next week there's going to be a #1 contendership between Havoc and Rosemary. That's the last thing that Deonna Purrazzo wants. She doesn't want to challenge anybody. She just wants to hold the title, definitely without challenging anybody. But we'll see what happens. Now, this next match we have VSK, who I mentioned a lot of times at AEW Dark, making his debut as well in Impact. But this also displayed the major debut of the headbanger El Fantasma, or LTP, LEP or something like that. But I have to say, it's great to see it. You know what I was expecting in this match? Like, oh, Kenny's going to come out and do, "Hey, what's up, my brother?" And of course, Phantasmo would say, "Screw you. You're not a Bullet Club member, because you don't associate yourself with members of the Elite, because they hate them." But it was a good match. I say he's one of those guys, in my opinion, that has the potential to win the X Division title. That's like in his wheelhouse. But he defeated VSK with the sudden death. That's his signature move, and they're still passing the story that he trained in Canada kicking trees. I have to say, I like how they're still continuing on with that. That's pretty dope. Now, the next match, we have each member of the teams from the Knockouts Tag Team Division. First up, we have Kara Hogan with Tasha Steelz taking on Rachel Ellering with Jordan Grace. I have to say, Rachel Ellering, I wish they would have shown her more in WWE, but now we're getting to see more of her in Impact. And I have to say, Impact, you got yourselves a really good competitor there, and I have to say it was amazing. No interference from both sides whatsoever. Because Rachel Ellering, who's now a powerhouse, had this demonstrated once again. Now, the main event, Moose is going to be involved with James Storm. However, Don Callis showed up, trying to get into his head. Now, the real question is Moose the bigger threat to Kenny Omega's title reign? I will explain to you guys that at the end. Now, Fire and Flavor are not happy with the whole thing. But however, it was later booked that it's going to be Jordan Grace against Tasha Steelz next week. I'm excited to see that. Hopefully the result is the same. Now we get to the main event, which was the qualifier match, the final one. Moose between James Storm. This was a very calculated match by Moose, being a powerful dude. He even exploited James Storm's knee. Used that under his advantage, but he finished him off with the spear, allowing himself to win the qualifier match. But however, he used James Storm to send a message to Kenny. Now, you would ask me, why is he a threat to Kenny? Simple. He's a big athletic dude. He proclaimed himself to be the best wrestler in the world. And he even said that he is God of wrestling. However, Don Callis will not tolerate someone speaking that. So, if I'm Don Callis, I watch out and try to come up with an idea to ensure Moose does not win the number one contendership at Under Siege. But that's my speculation. What's going to happen? So right now, I'm going to end it here and move on with the news updates. Alright, so here's the news updates for all of you. Mostly all of this is coming from AEW. Everything that I've been hearing now in the aftermath of the AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts. As you know, the ratings are in. It's just been told that they reached number one in the cable rankings. They received 1.09 million views. That is amazing. Last week they didn't have that because of the whole thing with the Biden speech, but it's great to hear that. But as for the 18 to 49 demographic, they received a 0.42, which is great to see that. But regarding after what happened this past Wednesday, there has been backlash coming from at the end of the match of the Bloods and Guts between the Inner Circle and, of course, the Pinnacle. If you watch what happened when Jericho actually was tossed by MJF into that area, you have noticed there was cushion right there. Now, I know some of you fans are saying that's a load of crap for them to do something to expose it. Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this. Do you want them to get hurt? You want them to get hurt? Is that what you're asking? Personally, I wouldn't if it was me. But I think they're playing the story very well. As you know, MJF, he's a young competitor, a very perfect heel that we need in AEW. Someone who's willing to get what he wants however he wants. And I think saying to Jericho, I'm taking your spot. It's mine. It played out pretty well. So forget about the cushion that you see that broke Jericho's fall. Okay? It doesn't bother me. Because I don't want to see Jericho get hurt. Do you guys want to see him get hurt if those cushions weren't there? Do you guys? That's not me. But I have to say the match was great and it told the story. MJF is now the top guy on his perspective. But we'll see what goes on. Yeah, now finally, because of Bloods and Guts, the last hour it wasn't going to be demonstrated on the whole thing because it revealed that the cage was too long to set up, the two rings and all this other things. So they were going to show the match on the screen, but of course they want to hear the cheers. That's what they want to do. But prior before that, Tony Khan did stated that if they don't like what they see, they can leave the venue and get a refund. So far from what the reports are saying, there were 5 refunds. I'm not sure if it's by groups or individuals. I'm not 100% sure what if that was the case. But of course, man, look, I understand because it would take too much time with the cage. And I don't blame AEW for that one bit. If they knew this is going to take too much time, it was a smart move. So I cannot blame them for that, but it was the right decision. So I think that's pretty much it for now for the news updates. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There'll be more Japanese wrestling for me to review. We even got 205 Live, which is going to have the debut of certain wrestlers. One coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling that I have noticed, and of course, I forgot who else was going to be in it. There's be some new debuts involved in this, and of course, we're going to see what's going to happen in New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Strong. I'm excited, and I hope you guys are excited. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.